Hello, my friend. Let me ask you something right from the beginning. Have you ever gone through a moment where everything you thought defined you suddenly slipped away? Where silence replaced applause? Where certainty gave way to stillness? Where you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back? If you felt that, then this video was made for you. Because today, I'm not here to give you motivational noise. I'm here to walk with you quietly into a deeper kind of strength. One the world can't see, but your soul can feel. These 15 Stoic lessons weren't written for crowds. They were written for hearts that are ready to rebuild from the inside out. So I invite you, stay with me until the end. Reflect. Breathe. Let this be a conversation between your past and your future. And if one of these lessons touches something in you, please share it in the comments. I read everyone. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs right now. If this message resonates, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, not for the numbers, but to keep building this quiet space for people like us who still believe in self-mastery, in peace, and in becoming whole again. Now, let's begin. Lesson 1. You are being rebuilt, not broken. You might think you're falling apart, but what if you're not being destroyed, just being rebuilt? That's what I told a man named John, 67 years old, recently retired, recently alone. He had built a life that made sense, a family, a name, a title, and one by one, all of it slipped away. I don't know who I am anymore, he said. I used to be someone. But maybe that was the problem. We're taught to become somebody, someone worth noticing. Someone to be respected, applauded, remembered. And for a while it works, until it doesn't, until applause fades, until the kids stop calling, until the titles no longer matter, until you find yourself in a quiet room with only the echo of your breath and you realize the person you spent decades building was never really you. It was a costume, a mask. The Stoics knew this moment. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, be no one for a while. Let it all fall, because only in the rubble do you find what's real. When John lost everything he thought he was, he had two choices: rebuild the same fragile house or build something new, something strong, something that couldn't be taken away. And he did. Not by force, not with grand gestures, but with quiet mornings, long walks, cooking his own meals, writing down his thoughts, forgiving his father, laughing alone, listening to silence without fear. He was no longer performing. He was present. He stopped trying to be seen and finally started seeing himself. So if you're there right now, if the old life is crumbling, don't panic. You're not being buried. You're being planted. You're not at the end. You're at the beginning. And beginnings are always quiet. Have you ever felt like you were losing yourself only to find something deeper? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if this reflection touched you, subscribe and send it to someone who's rebuilding right now. You never know who needs it. Lesson 2. Discipline is a devotion, not a burden. Discipline used to sound harsh to me. It sounded like forcing yourself to do things you hate. Waking up early, saying no to comfort, living rigid. But then I met a woman named Cecilia. She was 59. Her husband had passed away. Her children had their own lives, and she was left with silence. The kind of silence that presses against your chest at night and asks, "Who are you now?" Every morning at 5:30, she would walk alone. Not for exercise, not to escape, but because she said, "It's the only time I feel like myself." No headphones, no phone, just the cold air, her breath, and her thoughts. She wasn't training her body, she was tending to her soul. That was her discipline, her quiet devotion to her own becoming. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom doesn't come from retirement. It doesn't come from having nothing to do. It comes from choosing how to live and showing up for that choice daily, even when no one's watching. Discipline is often confused with pressure, but the Stoics knew it's a form of love. Not harshness, not punishment, but reverence. You wake early because your soul is worth tending. You eat clean not for looks, but to honor the vessel that carries your mind. You write in your journal because your thoughts matter enough to explore. No one will celebrate your small daily rituals, but those quiet repetitions shape character, shape strength, shape peace. And one day you'll look back and realize it wasn't the big moments that saved you. It was the quiet ones, the mornings no one saw, the promises you kept to yourself. Discipline, when rooted in love, becomes a kind of sanctuary, a place you return to not to control yourself, but to meet yourself again. Lesson 3. The day you no longer need to be somebody. Let me share something I've learned in 6 decades of watching people lose themselves in roles. The moment you stop needing to be somebody is the moment you start becoming real. We live so much of our lives trying to be seen, to be important, to leave a legacy, to matter. But the Stoics warned us, the more you tie your worth to external things, titles, opinions, applause, the more fragile your peace becomes. I remember a retired judge I once spoke with. After decades on the bench, he told me, when I stopped working, I stopped existing. Not because he vanished, but because he had never built an identity outside of the robe. He was someone important in the eyes of the world, but unknown to himself. So I asked him, "Who are you without the title?" He paused for a long time, and then he said, "I don't know, but I want to find out." That was the beginning of his freedom. Not because he gained something, but because he was willing to let something go. His image, his armor, his need to be impressive. The Stoics taught that you are not your reputation. You are not your achievements. You are the choices you make each day, especially when no one's watching. When you no longer need to be someone, you become free to be anyone. You laugh more. You listen deeper. You walk slower. You stop performing, you stop defending, you stop reacting. And in that space, you meet the part of you that was never moved by status or applause. So if you're entering a season where the world no longer sees you, don't chase the spotlight. Let it go. Not to disappear, but to finally become visible to yourself. Have you ever had to let go of a role that defined you for too long? Tell me about it in the comments. Your story may be the one someone else needs to hear today. And if this message resonated, please like, subscribe, and pass it forward. Quiet strength is contagious. Lesson 4. Let the old version of you stay dead. There comes a moment in life, not loud, not dramatic, when something inside you quietly dies. You don't notice it at first. You still smile, still respond to messages, still fold the laundry, make the coffee, but underneath something is gone, and it doesn't come back. This moment happens to most people after a great loss. A divorce, a betrayal, a retirement, a diagnosis. Life shakes you like a snow globe, and when the flakes settle, the world is the same, but you're not. What's different? You no longer believe in certain illusions. The illusion that success will save you, that being loved is the same as being valued, that being seen is the same as being known. The Stoics never promised comfort. They offered clarity. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But that doesn't mean we don't suffer. It means we suffer doubly, first from the wound, then from the story we build around it. And the most dangerous story is this: I need to become who I used to be. But that person is gone. Let them go. Don't resurrect the old identity. Don't rebuild the mask. Don't try to get back to normal. The normal you knew was never real. It was a structure built on external validation. This is your chance to build something else. Something quieter. Something deeper. Something that doesn't depend on applause, performance, or attention. I once spoke with a woman named Ruth. She had been a CEO for 30 years. After stepping down, she spiraled. "I feel invisible," she said. "I'm no one now." But in time, she began gardening, writing poetry, volunteering. And one day she told me, "You know, I like this version of me more than the one who wore suits every day." That's what happens when we stop clinging to the ashes. The fire that burned your old self wasn't destruction, it was purification. Now you can rebuild on bedrock, on stillness, on truth. Don't be afraid to disappear for a while. Don't be afraid to be unrecognizable even to yourself. Because sometimes the most sacred transformations happen when no one is watching. Let the old version of you stay dead. Mourn it, bless it, and then walk forward not as who you were, but as who you were meant to become. Lesson 5. When silence becomes a friend. You find yourself. You might not realize it now, but silence is not empty, it's full of answers. It holds truths that noise cannot reveal. And the moment you stop fearing silence, you begin to truly listen not to the world, but to yourself. There's a man I know, Harold, who lost his wife after 42 years of marriage. The house became a graveyard of memories. Music didn't help. Conversations felt hollow. Every day was an echo chamber of what used to be. And in that grief, he did something strange. He stopped running from the quiet. He turned off the TV, put away the phone. He sat by the window for hours, simply breathing, simply being. When I visited him months later, I was surprised. There was peace in his voice, calm in his face. The silence doesn't scare me anymore, he said. It introduced me to myself. This is the Stoic way, not to numb pain, but to face it, to go through it, to not distract yourself from discomfort, but to sit with it until it teaches you what you need to know. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. But how many of us ever go there? How many of us ever sit long enough in silence to hear the voice beneath the noise? Silence is not the absence of life. It is the presence of attention. And when you give yourself to it, you begin to notice what truly matters. The way sunlight moves across your kitchen counter, the rhythm of your breath, the thoughts that rise without judgment, the slow healing of something you thought would never mend. When you stop needing the world to reflect who you are, you finally get to see who you are. Have you had a moment in life where silence became a turning point, a space where clarity finally came? Share it in the comments. I'd be honored to read your reflection. And if this message helped you breathe a little easier, please like, subscribe, and send it to someone quietly struggling. Sometimes the deepest healing happens in silence, and we don't have to do it alone. Lesson 6. Emptiness is not the end. It's the beginning of you. There's a kind of emptiness no one warns you about. It doesn't arrive like a storm. It doesn't come with loud grief or visible loss. It comes quietly when the kids leave home, when the meetings stop, when the calendar no longer tells you who to be. And in that stillness, something inside you whispers, now what? This emptiness isn't sadness. It's not depression. It's the absence of distraction. It's the first time in decades that life stops shouting, and you're left alone with your own voice. For many, that voice is unfamiliar, or worse, unwelcome, because for so long we lived in service of everything but ourselves. The Stoics understood this quiet moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But it takes stillness to hear that strength. And stillness often looks like nothing at first. I worked with a man named Leonard. He retired early at 60. No financial worries, no pressing health issues. Yet he felt lost. I thought I'd enjoy this, he told me. But now I just feel useless. We began exploring that feeling, not pushing it away, not labeling it, just sitting with it. And eventually something shifted. Leonard started gardening. Not because it was productive, but because it felt real. Then he began teaching a few neighborhood kids how to fix bikes. No social media, no business cards, just presence. It's strange, he told me one day. I still don't have a big purpose, but I wake up looking forward to the day. That is the slow beauty of emptiness. It removes the noise. It strips the ego. It reveals what was underneath all along, a quiet life, not built on status, but on sincerity. The modern world teaches us to chase meaning, but the Stoic path invites us to become meaning one small act at a time, one honest moment at a time. So if you feel empty, don't rush to fill it. Let it echo for a while. It may just be your soul making room for something more honest, something more you. Lesson 7. when you no longer need permission to exist. There comes a moment, if you're lucky, when you stop waiting for people to understand you. You stop hoping for their approval, their applause, even their kindness. Not because you've become cold, but because you've become free. I knew a man named Robert. Grew up trying to please everyone. Parents, bosses, church, community. Always asking, is this okay? Am I okay? Even after retirement, he'd get dressed as if he were still expected to perform. I don't know how to stop proving myself, he told me once. It's like I'm invisible unless I'm needed. Then came cancer. A slow, brutal form. And as his body weakened, something strange happened. He no longer had the strength to pretend, the energy to impress, the will to explain. He stopped returning phone calls that drained him. He stopped dressing for others. He started reading poetry aloud in the mornings. He started saying no without guilt. He told me near the end, I feel more myself now than ever. He didn't say that with regret. He said it with awe, as if he had finally met the man he was always meant to be, the one who no longer needed permission to exist. This is the final gift of Stoicism, the return to self-respect, to live not as a reaction to others, but as a choice rooted in principle. Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourself." The day you stop explaining yourself, the day you stop defending your worth, that's the day you begin to live with dignity. You don't owe the world a performance. You don't owe them likability. You owe yourself honesty. When you no longer need to be heard, every word you speak carries weight. When you no longer need to be seen, your presence becomes sacred. So if you're watching this, and you've spent most of your life asking, is this okay? Let me offer you a new question. What would my life look like if I stopped asking? Have you ever reached a point where you stopped needing permission to live your truth? If so, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If this message gave you something to think about, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be quietly seeking the same freedom. Lesson 8. Don't build a new life with old, burnt bricks. We all have the instinct to rebuild. After heartbreak, after loss, after failure. We rush to gather the pieces, to get back to normal, to put the image together again. But we rarely stop to ask, is the life I'm trying to rebuild even worth returning to? There's an old Stoic truth. The obstacle is not just the way forward. Sometimes it's a sign to change direction entirely. I met a man named Gregory, 64. After his second divorce, he tried to bounce back. Gym, therapy, dating apps, new hobbies, new shirts. But underneath it all, he was using the same materials, the same expectations, the same hunger to be wanted, not whole. He told me, I just want to feel alive again. And I asked him gently, did the life you had before feel truly alive or just busy? He paused. I don't know if I ever stopped to ask that. That's the danger of rebuilding too quickly. You use old bricks, bricks made of fear, of insecurity, of needing to be liked. You try to construct peace on a foundation of pressure, but when the old life burns down, let it burn. Don't pick through the ashes hoping to recreate it. Use this moment to ask deeper questions. What do I really value? Who am I when no one needs me? What kind of life feels good when no one's watching? The Stoics believed in starting from the core. Your principles, your character, your clarity. Rebuilding, in their view, wasn't about repairing a damaged image. It was about refining the soul. So don't rush to move on. Don't try to be impressive again. Don't rebuild for applause. Pause long enough to build something no wind can shake. Stillness, meaning, integrity. Let the ashes settle. Then begin again, not by going back, but by going deeper. Lesson 9, real strength begins where applause ends. There's a strange kind of strength the world doesn't recognize. It's the strength of showing up, without being seen, of doing the right thing, when no one's keeping score, of keeping your dignity, even when no one claps for it. Most of us, at some point, learn how fragile the ego is. We work hard hoping someone notices. We endure pain hoping someone cares. And when silence greets our effort, we question the value of it all. But that's exactly where real strength begins, where the applause ends. I once coached a retired firefighter, Marcus. 35 years of service, hundreds of lives saved, a local hero. But after retirement, no more thank you cards, no recognition, just silence. He told me, "It's strange. I did all that. And now it's like none of it ever happened." I asked him, "Did you do it to be remembered or because it was right?" He looked down and said, "I thought I knew. In the Stoic view, virtue must stand on its own." Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And we waste it when we perform instead of embody, when we chase recognition instead of alignment." Real strength is invisible. It's the self-control you practice when no one sees your anger. It's the forgiveness you offer without being asked. It's the discipline to keep becoming even when no one applauds your progress. You know you're growing when you stop needing credit. You know you're centered when you can do good quietly. You know you're free when you can let others misunderstand you without the need to correct them. Marcus eventually found peace not in being honored, but in honoring the values he still lived by. He volunteered at a small community garden. No headlines, no handshakes, just soil, sweat, stillness. He became someone no one noticed, and that's when he became his strongest. Have you experienced a time when you kept going without applause, when your strength was quiet but real? Share your reflection in the comments below. And if this message spoke to something in you, I'd be honored if you liked the video, subscribed, and passed it on to someone quietly carrying their own weight. This world needs more silent strength. If you're still here with me, thank you. Not just for watching, but for listening. For allowing these words to settle where they needed to land. The truth is, growth in this season of life doesn't look like big victories. It looks like quiet mornings, brave boundaries, letting go, and choosing peace, even when no one claps for it. Maybe one of these Stoic lessons mirrored a part of your story. Maybe you saw yourself in the silence. And if so, I'd be honored to hear it. What spoke to you most? Which lesson felt like it was written just for you? Let me know in the comments. You're not alone, and your story might guide someone else through the dark. And if you found something of value here, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more reflections like this. Not because we're chasing numbers, but because we're building something rare, a place for quiet strength, for real wisdom, for people like you. Until next time, live slowly, love honestly, and keep walking calmly toward who you were always meant to be.